Health. I'm Dr. Mary DiBartolo, Professor of Nursing at Salisbury University and host of the program. Katie Dorsch, you're back with me again. So today we're going to do some heart-healthy recipes, correct?
That's right, yeah.
Now you are an outpatient registered dietitian with Atlantic General Hospital.
Yep.
So what do you have in store for us today?
Yeah, so I don't think we've talked about heart health before. So I wanted to focus on some recipes that could help with blood pressure, lower cholesterol, triglycerides, reduce our risk of heart attack and cardiovascular disease. So we're going to be making two dishes today. A Mediterranean baked sweet potato dish with some chickpeas, and then also a sheet pan chili lime salmon with some potatoes and peppers.
Well, if I can add, chickpeas, I hear, are very good for brain health as well.
Right, yeah.
I'm in that Alzheimer's world, you know, reading about everything that's good to eat for that, and chickpeas is near the top of the list, I think.
Yeah, I think you can't go wrong with beans and legumes in general.
True.
Are great for a lot of things. So our dishes today are gonna focus on a lot of fiber, some potassium and some magnesium, which are good minerals to have. And then, of course, some healthy fats from our salmon over here.
Salmon, can't go wrong with salmon.
That's right.
Okay, we're doing the sweet potato dish first?
Yeah, we're gonna start with these sweet potatoes. So if you have smaller sweet potatoes, you can just cut them in half. We had some really big sweet potatoes today, so I just kind of cut them into thicker slices. And we are going to toss them with a little bit of olive oil. Again, another healthy fat.
Is that extra virgin olive oil?
This is extra virgin olive oil. When we're thinking about types of fats to use, you know, we hear the terms sometimes good fat and bad fat. So the stuff that's good for our hearts, that good fat, is things like olive oil and other plant-based oils, avocados, nuts, seeds. So thinking about those things that come from plants. Some of those bad fats that we want to avoid that can raise our cholesterol, those are going to come more from animal foods like fatty cuts of meat, bacon, high-fat dairy foods.
And what about coconut oil? There's a lot of controversy about coconut oil. It's good for you, it's not good for you. I can't figure it out. I've read all kinds of articles.
So coconut oil is, of course, it comes from a plant, so you think, well, it's got to be good for us, right? But coconut and other tropical oils like palm oil, they actually have a lot of saturated fats. So those are those bad fats. That is what makes the coconut oil solid at room temperature.
Right. I know when I read the label and look at the saturated fat, it almost takes my breath away.
Yeah.
So I haven't used it.
It's got a lot of saturated fat in it. So I always say, you know, use it sparingly, kind of like you would butter.
It's used in a lot of like curry dishes and such, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So I guess in small amounts it's not a problem.
Yeah, it can add some good flavor, different flavor to things.
Okay, so we put some salt on that and the
we
olive
put a little
oil.
sprinkle of salt and some olive oil on our sweet potatoes. And then we're going to season these chickpeas. So they've just been drained and rinsed. And we have some spice mix with some cumin, coriander, cinnamon, and smoked paprika
Sounds delicious.
that we are going to toss.
It's like those Middle Eastern spices that are so interesting. Yeah.
They're very warm and earthy.
Mm-hmm.
And again, add just a little bit of olive oil to that. We're going to toss this together and then spread this on the pan with the sweet potatoes. And so these chickpeas are going to get a little bit crunchy, have a little bit of texture to them.
They don't taste so much like a bean when they're roasted and crunchy, correct?
Yeah.
I know some people have said they don't eat beans, but they like chickpeas.
Yeah. They taste a little different than just regular white beans or black beans, those kinds of things. So we're just going to kind of spread all this out here. For roasting things, we want to try and have enough space on the pan for everything. Okay. And we're going to stick this in a 400-degree oven, and it's going to roast for about 25 minutes until these sweet potatoes are tender. So while our sweet potatoes are cooking, we're going to make a couple components to go with this dish once everything is done to top it with. So we're going to make a little sauce that we drizzle on top, and the base of the sauce is actually hummus. You could also use...
Which is made of chickpeas.
Which is made of chickpeas. So we get chickpeas two ways.
A lot of chickpeas.
Today. If you didn't have hummus, you could also use tahini. So tahini is a component of hummus, and it is ground sesame seeds. So you can also use tahini in place of the hummus. I just got plain hummus today. So,
And you can buy tahini made, correct? I don't have to ground up
correct.
seeds.
You can buy jars of tahini just kind of like you would buy a jar of peanut butter.
Okay. Trying to keep this simple.
Yeah. It, you know, it might seem like a lot, but it all comes together pretty quickly.
So is that what, a half a cup? No, a quarter cup?
That is a quarter cup of our hummus that we're going to put in there. We're also going to put some lemon juice in there, a little lemon. Half a lemon.
Nothing like fresh lemon juice. Makes a difference.
It really brings a brightness to everything. Taking care not to get any seeds in there. And we're going to put some dried dill in here. So about a teaspoon or so. If you had some fresh dill, you could substitute that. I'm doing maybe 2-3 teaspoons of fresh dill. If you're making this in the summer when the garden's going
Sure.
and we have all those herbs around. We're also going to mince some garlic cloves.
I like my little mincer gadget. Yours is a knife, but...
Yeah, and obviously a garlic press is going to be a little faster, but if you just have whole cloves and we want to mince them fresh, I usually just kind of stack them up and then start slicing.
I do not have the proficiency with the knife as you do.
You can also buy already minced garlic in a jar.
I keep that around too. Some nights I'm like, I don't even feel like using my mincer.
I do as well. It's not quite as flavorful or as potent
Sure.
as fresh garlic.
Yeah.
But if having a jar of minced garlic is what gets dinner on the table, then I say go for it. So we're just kind of running through the garlic back and forth a few times until we get into really small pieces. And actually, the finer you chop garlic, the more potent it is.
Sure. Yeah, more surface area, I guess.
Right. So a lot of people think, you know, slices of garlic or big chunks of garlic are going to be really overpowering. But actually, the smaller we mince it, the more powerful it will be.
I love your cooking tips.
So we're going to add this to the bowl. So we have hummus, dill, a little lemon, and some garlic. And of course, we want to make this a sauce. So we need to add a little bit of water here.
So it's more pourable, drizzly,
Yeah.
like.
Until we can make it drizzle. Okay.
So stirring and adding until you get it to the proper consistency.
Okay, so it looks like we've got a pretty good drizzle here.
It smells great.
So,
If you like garlic, I guess.
Right. You do have to like garlic. So we will set this to the side while our sweet potatoes cook. And then we're also going to add a tomato and parsley topping. So kind of like a little tomato salad that we put on
Oh,
top.
nice. That sounds great.
So this is really a complete meal with our sweet potatoes, our chickpeas, and our tomato salad. We've
Right.
got some protein, we've got some carbohydrates, some vegetables here.
Because chickpeas are very high in protein.
Correct. So they would be a good vegetarian protein source. So we could eat this as a complete meal. You could also serve it as a side dish if maybe you didn't have some vegetarians in the house, maybe along with some salmon or some grilled chicken, something like that. So we are going to take our tomatoes, chop some of those up. Depending on how many people you're serving, you might not need all of these tomatoes. We're just going to cut these in half.
It's amazing the selection of tomatoes at the grocery store now.
There's a lot of them. Just, plain red tomatoes. You can get orange and yellow ones.
Yeah, I like the colorful ones.
Yeah, the
purple
colorful
and
ones. So this,
you eat with your eyes, correct?
yes,
A colorful meal.
I figured the red would be a good contrast
With
with
the-
orange.
Yeah.
So
And with your parsley, that'll be beautiful.
this tomato salad is kind of inspired by another Mediterranean dish called tabbouleh, which is typically made with some grains and tomato and lots and lots and lots of parsley.
Is that made with bulgur wheat?
Yes, with bulgur.
I made it one time.
There are some variations you can make, with different grains, quinoa or things like that, although not traditional. And we're going to chop a little bit of parsley up to go along with this. And again, much like our garlic,
I love using fresh herbs, and so I bought this gadget. I love gadgets to chop herbs, and it doesn't work that well. You have to do it yourself in the night, I was like, darn. So I was really hoping to speed up that process
Right.
of chopping herbs. But
I often think, we come up with all kinds of gadgets to chop and do all these things to make life easier. And I think, a knife and a cutting board is always your best tool. It's also the easiest to clean.
right. Yeah, for sure.
I've tried before a couple of those choppers that you see advertised on social media and TikTok and all those places. And they're really hard to use, actually, and very hard to clean. So I'd rather chop myself.
It reminds me of the juicer thing.
Yeah.
I watched a friend make juice in a juicer. She spent more time cleaning the juicer afterwards than making the actual juice.
Right.
So I'm like, I don't know about that.
Than
So,
just eating a piece of fruit, right?
exactly.
So we've just added a little pinch of salt. And when we think about heart health, we tend to think about things that we should eat less of. So things like salt or sodium that can raise our blood pressure. It's important to keep in mind a heart healthy diet does include some sodium. We just want to avoid excess sodium. So for a dish like this where we're cooking fresh whole foods that aren't seasoned, using a little bit of salt is going to help add flavor without going overboard. Most of the excess salt we get in our diet comes from foods that come already seasoned or already prepared.
Canned foods and so forth.
So canned foods, frozen
Processed.
foods, a lot of processed food, chips, and even bread can have a lot of sodium in it. So things like that to look out for.
Well, I know we do teaching about diet and heart health, and one of the things you definitely should do is taste your food before you add salt to it at
Right.
the table.
Yes.
A lot of people, they just start salting the food without even trying it to see if it's palatable that way.
Yeah, so tasting your food first and then adding a little bit to taste is always going to be a good option. So you can see we mix this all together. It just makes a nice, really bright, colorful salad.
So no oil in there? Just
We can add a little bit of olive oil. And if we wanted to add a little bit of lemon juice.
I love lemon in salad. I had a friend, that's all she did to her salad is put fresh lemon juice on it.
A little bit of acid to brighten things up.
Nice.
Always like a little lemon. Okay. And so all of these components
I see you have stems in there. You're okay with stems? I remove stems.
I usually, if they're small parsley stems, I usually just go ahead and chop them up.
Okay.
Same thing with cilantro. The thicker stems, I tend to
Pull
try
them.
and pull off.
Okay.
But I'm okay with the little stems. Some people don't like them, but it's up to you. When you make this at home, you can take all the stems off.
I feel better about keeping some stems in there now.
So we have our tomato salad and our sauce, and once our sweet potatoes and chickpeas are finished cooking, we'll go ahead and put everything together.
Okay, terrific.
Makes a really bright, colorful, flavorful dish.
I can't wait to try it.
Yeah. So while we're waiting for that, we can move over to preparing our salmon and potatoes and peppers. Of course, our potatoes, they're going to take a few extra minutes to cook. They cook a little bit slower than everything else.
And you got the little potatoes.
Yeah,
They come in the bag.
These little potatoes that come in the bag. I love them because they're so easy to prepare. We just cut them in half. Also, they're really cute.
They are. I usually buy the ones that are wrapped, the baked potatoes, when I'm in a hurry to make a fast dinner.
Yeah.
And just zap those in the microwave. But I like the little potatoes.
Yeah, I'm all about making things more convenient.
And they come in colors too, don't they?
They do.
I'm
They
into
do.
color.
So again, we're going to add a little bit of olive oil. So we need some oil when roasting things. And we're going to add a little bit of salt here.
Now, is that sea salt or
This
some
is
special
just,
kind of coarse salt?
Kosher salt.
Kosher.
So we're just going to kind of toss all that together. Those potatoes are very bland by themselves, so they do need a little bit of salt. And we're going to spread these on our sheet pan. And if you have a big enough sheet pan, you
Turn them over, you are.
I am going to turn them over to start, just so they get nice and crispy on these bottoms. If you have a big enough sheet pan, you could do everything all in one. For this dish, we might just have to break it up a little bit, which is fine because our potatoes and everything else kind of cooks at different rates anyway.
Okay.
So we've got our potatoes on the tray. We're going to put those in a 425 oven. They're going to bake about 15 minutes.
Now, would you normally combine these two things because it's a lot of potato? Although sweet potatoes to me are a very much healthier potato, correct? Since they're orange and chock full of vitamins and minerals.
So I think that's kind of a misnomer that sweet potatoes are better for you than regular potatoes. We kind of put this health halo around sweet potatoes, and we think, you know, well-meaning doctors and other professionals can sometimes say white foods are bad for you. Well, they're not bad for you. They're just different.
Okay.
So sweet potatoes, they're orange because they have more vitamin A, which is what gives that orange color, that beta carotene. Same thing that makes carrots orange. White potatoes, they do have a similar amount of fiber. They both have a good amount of potassium. So they're just a little bit different.
Does that assume you eat the skin with the white potato?
That is correct. So
Okay.
both with the white potato and the sweet potato, a lot of the fiber is in the skin.
Because a lot of people don't eat the skin.
Right.
They just shovel out the white when they make a baked potato, and then they put tons of sour cream and butter on it, and
Right.
they say that doesn't help the health rating on that.
Yeah, so with most things, a lot of the fiber is in the skin.
Okay.
So same thing with an apple. If we peel an apple or if we eat applesauce, that's going to have less fiber than just eating the apple with the skin.
And I always thought you had to peel sweet potatoes, but I had a recipe the other night that called for it to keep the skin on, and I did, and I
Yeah.
guess I ate a healthier sweet potato.
That's right.
Very good. All right.
More fiber with that sweet potato.
Exactly.
Which is a good thing. So yeah, fiber can really help with cholesterol. Kind of think of it as like a vacuum cleaner in your digestive system, sucking up the cholesterol in the food that you eat, which can help lower your blood cholesterol levels. So getting a lot of fiber can be really helpful for lowering cholesterol. So I like to approach heart health from a stance of what can we add to our diet that's going to make it better, instead of what are all these things we need to take away. So we are also going to toss our peppers. So we have an orange and a red pepper here. You could use whatever colors you want. And we have our seasonings, which are some cumin, some chili powder, some garlic powder, a little bit of salt, and we have a lemon or a lime that we zested. So
I know, I love the zesting of lemon and lime. Really does add a lot of flavor.
It does. So that peel on the outside has a lot of flavor. It has all the oils.
Good for you?
Yes. So it becomes very fragrant and potent. So we're going to mix that together, and we're going to season our peppers with a little bit of this, and we'll save some for our salmon.
I love just plain pepper strips and with hummus. It really goes well.
Yeah. So you could buy an extra pepper or two for eating your leftover hummus if you made both of these dishes. So we're going to toss these together, and we'll give it a few minutes and wait for our potatoes to cook a little more. In the meantime, we can season our salmon. So this is just wild caught sockeye salmon. There are different kinds of salmon. There's coho salmon and farmed salmon and all kinds of salmon. Some people prefer to only eat wild salmon and avoid the farmed salmon. Farmed salmon is a little bit cheaper. It actually also ends up being a little bit higher in those omega-3 fatty acids.
The farm raised?
The farm raised. So it really comes down to your budget and your preferences.
Okay.
Either is a good choice. So we have a couple salmon fillets. This full recipe calls for 4 salmon fillets, which is why we have a little leftover spice. But it's just the 2 of us today.
Okay.
So we've seasoned that. And again, we're gonna let that rest while we wait for our potatoes to cook. And then we'll cook the peppers and the salmon together.
All right, so let's go.
So our sweet potatoes and our chickpeas are done roasting. We just tested for doneness with a fork to make sure they're nice and tender. So we're gonna plate this just with a couple slices of sweet potato and of course some of our chickpeas to go around it.
So is this like a side dish you're saying for?
You could serve it either as a
main
side
meal?
dish or as an entree.
Okay.
It would be a good vegetarian entree, depending on your audience. They enjoy vegetarian meals. Got some loose chickpeas here. So we're gonna plate these together, and then of course we're gonna add our tomato and parsley salad. So a nice pop of color on here.
Yeah, that looks really good.
And then we're going to drizzle our hummus with sauce on top. So a double dose of chickpeas here.
Can't have enough chickpeas, can you?
You can't. Okay. Okay. Beautiful presentation. We're ready to
I would
eat.
say so. Very colorful. Let's dig in.
We always eat with our eyes, as they say.
I didn't get the skin up with that. You're saying that's where a lot of the nutrients or fiber is particularly.
Right. So trying to get
Very good. What amazes me is all the different sauces you can make with healthy ingredients. A lot of them include a lemon juice. It's unbelievable. It really adds a lot to it.
a little bit of lemon. So the chickpeas have kind of a firmer texture after roasting in the oven.
I like them roasted though. I think they're very good roasted. Want to make sure I get some skin. Then we'll take a break. What's next?
So our potatoes and our salmon and peppers are finishing up. We have a few minutes left on that. And then we'll get to try that. Okay.
Well, this looks delicious.
Yeah, so we have our salmon with our spice mixture, potatoes, and our seasoned peppers. So this dish is really easy just because everything cooks, you know, on 1 or 2 sheet pans. So minimal dishes, minimal cleanup.
Very good. I'm going to try the salmon first. The spices are very nice. Doesn't taste fishy either. I'm not a fishy salmon person. I guess the fresher you buy it, it's...
If it has a strong fishy smell, that might be an indication it's not the best.
Sweet peppers are great. Red peppers, I mean, sorry. Now on to the little potatoes.
And so, yeah, once again, we have a very balanced meal. We have some lean protein with some healthy fats, got some non-starchy vegetables, and then our carbs from the potatoes. You know, we have lots of fiber here. We've got the good heart-healthy omega-3s that can help lower your cholesterol. We've got a good amount of potassium from our potatoes and our peppers. So those are 2 things that can also help lower blood pressure. So we think about blood pressure of, you know, reducing sodium, but also if we increase potassium, that can help our blood pressure too. So trying to keep that in mind. Again, what can we add to our day to help our heart health? So here we are.
Well, Katie, thank you. I've learned so much today myself, including how to put a lemon in a squeezer. So I've been doing it backwards for years. Anyway, I always learn a lot from you, including all the nutritional information. Obviously, that's your expertise as a dietitian. So keep up the good work, and I look forward to another show. We always have some interesting things on the horizon, so thank you again.
Thank you for having me.
And thanks to MAC for letting us use their kitchen here, and thank you for joining us for this edition of Cooking for Health.